Now that that's gone, we need to remove this background from the active item, and we've done that already. So let's go ahead and right click it and select Inspect Element again. And then just like we did before, let's go ahead and add a new property to this selector here. We'll go ahead and call it background color none again. Okay, so this did what we wanted it to do in the tab, but it also had an adverse effect on the main body. And that's because when you look at the selector here, it says page, and that's one of the selectors. And then there's multiple other selectors as well. Main wrapper, main menu links, LIA active. Now this third item looks pretty specific to the menu that we were working with in the header, and so does this fourth selector, main menu links, li.activetrail-a. So let's go ahead and select the selector and copy the last two properties. I'm just highlighting it, and then I'm going to right click and select copy. And then let's paste this into our document where we're building up our styles. I'm going to paste the selectors, add an opening and a closing bracket, and let's go ahead and add our background color equals none again. Let's go ahead and stop here for a moment and add the CSS with CSS Injector and see if we're on the right track. So I'm going to copy this code here, and I'm going to click Edit CSS Injector Rule on our page, which again is a link to the CSS rule that gets added to every page. And I'm going to paste in our new code. Okay, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and click Save. And then let's go ahead and close this overlay by clicking the X in the corner. Okay, it doesn't look like it had any effect. Now, when this happened before, it was an issue with the cascading nature of CSS, and the styles that we had added were appearing before other styles that were overriding it. And the way we could enforce our particular styles was by adding the important keyword. So let's go ahead and see if that's happening here. I'm going to right click on one of these items and select Inspect Element. Okay, so at the top we see our selector that we were manipulating in Firebug. And if we scroll down, we'll see if we look at the names of the style sheets that our CSS Injector one is right here. We can hover over it in order to see the full name of the CSS file. And we see our definition, main menu links A, but it looks like it's empty. So what's going on here? Well, the problem was that with the particular property that we were setting, we set a value for it that wasn't valid. And while Firebug allowed us to use it and to see the effects of overwriting the background color, when Firefox pulls in that style sheet, it will automatically remove that invalid attribute. So what we need to do is change that attribute in order to use our own. So this is one example of when Firebug is helpful, but can sometimes lead you down the wrong track if you're not familiar with the exact properties that you can use and the values that you can associate with them. So instead of setting background color equals none, what we need to do is set background color to transparent. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to Edit CSS Injector Rule. I'm going to scroll down, and for the background color for both of our items, let's go ahead and change none to transparent. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it over in our second background color use, and scroll down to the bottom and click Save. I'll then exit out of the overlay. Now we're still not seeing our changes being applied. Note that when the page refreshed, we still have the element that we were inspecting earlier highlighted. So let's go ahead and take a look at the styles one more time here. So we have our main menu links that we were working with before that's part of Drupal. And as we scroll down, we see our CSS Injector property here, background color transparent. So what's strange here is that we're not seeing our property crossed out, which means that it's being applied, but at the same time we're still seeing a background color in these items. So what's happening here is that if you scroll up to the first selector here, you'll see that the background property is being set right here. And because we're using a more specific property, background-color, that specific property isn't technically being overridden. But if we want to force our property, we can do the important trick and go ahead and click on the property, and at the very end of it, add exclamation important, And then we'll see at the very top that all of our items don't have a background anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our modification in the CSS injector rule to add the important to it. I'm going to scroll down and add important to both the main menu links A and to the active trail. And then I'll scroll down to the bottom and click Save and exit out of the overlay in order to view the changes. So now we have no background for any of our items, and we can click on any of these to see that the active item isn't being highlighted either.